Welcome to the Explainer. For today's Regulatory Pulse, we're unpacking a massive regulatory shift that is quietly turning standard tattoo inks and studio consumables into major compliance risks under EU law. Seriously, if you work with body art, inks, or supply chains, you need to pay close attention right now because the rules of the game have fundamentally changed. Let's dive right in by confronting a comfortable but honestly incredibly dangerous myth. There's this widespread belief out there that if you aren't using cosmetic scrub beads or literal glitter, your studio is entirely safe from the new microplastic bans. But as we'll see, that assumption couldn't be further from the truth. Just look at this quote from Patrick, an industry expert featured in our source material. He hits the nail on the head regarding a massive blind spot. Hidden polymers in your ink supply chain, which are often masked as trade secrets on a safety data sheet, can now trigger severe penalties under new enforcement timetables. So simply saying, "I didn't know," is no longer a defense. To make sure you don't get ambushed by all these changes, we're going to break down this complex legal framework into 5 actionable steps: beyond the plastic bead, defining the new rules, the global compliance divide, how inks are affected, and finally, your studio compliance checklist. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Beyond the plastic bead. So the old compliance focused heavily on tracking things like SCCS, pigment bans, and heavy metal limits. But the new REACH Chemicals regulation, that stands for Registration, Evaluation, Authorization, and Restriction of Chemicals, doesn't replace those old rules. Instead, it stacks right on top of them. This creates a completely new third pillar of required compliance based entirely on your ink's polymer particulate profile. Section 2. Defining the new rules. Listen, the days of just worrying about glitter or exfoliating beads are completely over. REACH Entry 78 specifically targets synthetic polymer microparticles. This means everyday polymer-based pigments, binders, rheology modifiers, and even the cleaning aids used in your studio are now heavily regulated if they're intentionally added for a function. If those intentionally added polymers used to adjust the flow, texture, or opacity of your ink meet specific physical parameters, like being solid at 20 degrees Celsius and being carbon-based, they are totally caught in the restrictions net. You can't just guess anymore either. This is entirely chemistry and test method driven now. And if you think you can just spot them with the naked eye, think again. The size limit for these particles is anything under 5 millimeters, which extends all the way down into the microscopic and nano range found in ink dispersions. We aren't just talking about little beads you can see, we're talking about particles you literally need a microscope to find. On top of that, the rules look at solubility. If your polymer isn't highly soluble, specifically dissolving at 2 grams per liter or less, it's legally treated as a solid particle under this rule. If it doesn't dissolve, and it also fails to biodegrade under standardized international tests, well, it's officially a microplastic. Section 3. The global compliance divide. This whole situation creates a massive geographic trap for the industry. While the US essentially just bans plastic microbeads in rinse-off cosmetics, and the UK has its post-Brexit cosmetic bans, the EU has enacted a broad, cross-sector synthetic polymer restriction. So an ink that is completely legal to sell in the US could already be a massive non-compliant reporting liability in the EU, simply because of its polymer particular profile. Section 4. How inks are affected. Now, there's a really critical distinction we need to make here. Solid body jewelry is usually exempt because the polymer is a bulk, solid article. But tattoo inks? Totally different story. The free-floating organic pigments, polymer-encapsulated pigments, and polymer dispersants in your liquid tattoo inks are precisely the functional microparticles Entry 78 is hunting for. They aren't permanently incorporated. They are dispersed, which puts them right in the crosshairs. And time is absolutely not on your side with this. The restriction uses phase-in bans and derogations. But even if your specific ink components get an exemption, you aren't off the hook. Heavy reporting and safe use labeling obligations are hitting on a really strict timetable, with the first wave happening right now in 2024 and 2025. Plus, there's mandatory emissions reporting to ECHA by May 31st, 2027. To survive this shift, you've got to completely change your mindset. Just like you already rigorously track nickel release limits and lead for piercing jewelry, you have to start treating the polymer profiles of your inks, aftercare creams, and studio wipes with that exact same rigor. It needs to be quantified, documented, and verified. You just can't assume you're safe anymore. Finally, Section 5, your studio compliance checklist. Okay, here is your immediate plan of attack. First, map every single liquid, cream, and wipe in your studio. Flag anything with terms like resin or acrylate. Second, you need to force your suppliers to provide microplastic declarations. Third, figure out exactly who in your chain is handling the EACHA reporting. And lastly, update your standard operating procedures so your staff knows exactly how to handle residues and ink cups to minimize environmental release. When you interrogate your suppliers, you must demand written, test-backed proof that answers very specific chemical questions. Generic safety data sheets that just say proprietary blend are no longer enough to protect you from liability, especially if you import or rebottle in the EU. You need CAS numbers alongside particle sizes, solubility data, and real biodegradability test results. I'm going to leave you with this final critical thought. Go look at your documentation today. If your current ink file lacks an explicit statement on REACH Annex XVII Entry 78, you have a massive compliance gap sitting right there on your shelf. The regulators have fully moved on from just asking what color a pigment is to asking exactly what polymer is behind every single particle. So, what are you going to do about it today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay compliant out there.